Hello and welcome to another episode of Aloe and Ace podcast. I am the allosexual Skylar.
And I'm the asexual Jesse.
Jesse, it's been probably a couple months at this point.
I know.
We're the worst.
I feel so bad. I feel so bad, but at the same time, I don't. But it's because we've had so much going on. And I know we said this last time, but we really want to make sure that when we're recording these episodes that they're genuine, right? And I don't want it to feel like we're pulling teeth to record an episode. That's not cool.
Yeah, it doesn't come down to us not enjoying the podcast or anything like that. The recording process is not difficult.
No, we're having a conversation in our bedroom.
But there has just been a lot going on, and we're sorry that
it's just, I know. Yeah, we've had people reaching out asking if we're okay and everything, and I really appreciate that. And that's what makes me feel bad. I'm like, oh crap, people are worried. They're worried, just in general. Did something happen with them? Are they okay? Is the baby okay? Like, what's going on? We're still here, I promise, and we're well. Everything's just been really busy and sick.
Yeah, we'll give some quick updates of everything. So since the last time we recorded, we have officially gone past the year mark of the podcast, which was April.
That's crazy.
This is episode 31, which, granted, we could have 50 episodes a year if we really dedicated ourselves, but
I think 31's pretty good.
I think well, technically it's 30 because this is after.
Okay. Pish posh. But 30 episodes is pretty good. Fine.
Yeah. The point of all of it is we had a lot to talk about the first while. And now I think we probably, unless something comes up, we'll probably find maybe, I don't know, some other things to possibly discuss. There hasn't been a lot of major things happen in our own life as far as like...
I think we've been trying to just get through with me being sick with pregnancy, honestly. Yeah. And I'm in school and we're both working. And so there's just, remember how we have 6 kids? I think we've just been trying to move through this sick aspect of pregnancy is probably the thing that's really put a pause on things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because obviously when you feel sick to your stomach constantly, you don't feel like doing as much as you usually do. And when you don't do as much as you usually do, you're not having as many experiences in general, like with people.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that there is plenty to talk about all the time. I think it's just a matter of it being a genuine conversation.
Yeah, I think, though, that a lot of episodes arose because of you trying to figure out your asexuality and what that means in our relationship. And there was a lot of like aha moments in the moment where it's like, oh, we need to discuss this. We need to talk about this.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's happening as frequent anymore.
Yeah, definitely the ahas aren't happening as much, but they're still happening.
Yeah, and there's always things to discuss. There's things that we see on Reddit. There's other situations, and so we'll definitely get more involved with that. But it also depends on how Jessie is feeling with, because she's just going to become more and more uncomfortable as she gets more and more along in the pregnancy.
Right. I do think that the biggest thing is that the nausea has just been really difficult. Yeah. So, and uncomfortable sleep, honestly. So we're past halfway. Let's give a little update on that. We're past halfway with the pregnancy.
21 weeks today.
Yeah, 21 weeks today, and she's doing so good in there. She is a little mover. Like, she moves more than any of my other babies did during pregnancy, and so much so that the ultrasound tech at the anatomy scan last week, it took a long time because she was moving so much, doing so many flips. So I'm happy for that. Skylar's been feeling her move a ton, and she's like the size of a large banana now. I just learned that just now, and she's almost a pound.
Yeah, I think she's going to be are probably the one that's going to get into everything and be moving all around. If right now is any indication.
No, maybe she's getting it all out right now. Maybe she's going to come out and be like a Zen baby. I don't know. We don't know.
It'll be fun.
It'll be really fun. The kids are way excited. They've been talking to her because, a few weeks ago I told them, hey, her ears are developed, so you should talk to her so she knows who you are. So that's been really cute. It's just a very different experience having a baby later on, 9 years after you had your last one. It's really interesting in a good way. There's a lot of really cool things about it.
Yeah.
So we're just embracing all of that and getting through that. And it's just been a lot, I guess. But we've missed everybody. We love talking to you still. We love that you're reaching out and asking if we're okay. And then also I feel bad that you think something might be wrong. And we love this community. So we appreciate you.
Yeah. Before we get too much further into the episode, we do want to remind people that this is a sexuality-based podcast, specifically around asexuality and how that may affect relationships and life. And so, as part of that, there are often triggering topics such as sex and SA, etc. So, try to put in the show notes anything that we discuss that might be triggering. So, if you want to check there ahead of time, and then if it's getting too hard for you to listen to, we recommend taking a break.
Yeah, and also we're not professionals. We are observers of our own experience and what's happening around us, and we talk about it. And sometimes it helps, and sometimes maybe it doesn't. But we're not professionals. We don't make that clear.
We don't claim that this podcast is going to help everybody. We just hope that there might be topics within it that lead to your own contemplations and introspection, as well as conversations in your relationship or your life.
Right.
If you do want to reach out to us, we do have a Google Voice number that you can leave us a voice message or give us a text message. That is a US-based area code 385-645-3651. You can also email us at aloeandacepodcast@gmail.com or message us on most any social media platforms that you follow us on.
And when there's been a bit of a break like there has been right now, you can always reach out. We're always happy to get your message, even if we haven't recorded an episode in a month or two. We're here. We're happy to help in any way possible and be supportive.
Yeah.
So keep reaching out.
So, Jesse.
Skylar.
How are you?
Oh, yeah, you asked me that. It's been a little while.
You're like, why are you? You know how I'm doing.
It's so funny because I'm sitting here in bed, propped up, and I have so much more blood flowing through my body. I'm like out of breath.
Just talking.
Yes. And I'm like, what the heck? I hope it's not too noticeable while we're recording. But if I'm talking a lot, I find myself like taking a breath. Pregnancy does wild things, guys. I'm good. I feel like a lot of this episode, well, I don't know, maybe not a lot, but we had an experience last week, several days ago, I don't know, almost a week ago, that surfaced some interesting feelings that really took me by surprise. And it's just interesting. I use that word a lot, I know, and it's so vague. It could mean so many things.
Interesting could be good. Interesting could be bad.
Interesting could just be interesting. Yeah. So that happened, and, we've had a little bit of a wild week. One of the kids had a bit of an emergency surgery.
I was like, what happened? I'm like, oh, duh.
I know, it's like all the days, isn't it? Without getting into it too much, yeah, she's doing great, and we're so happy that they were able to figure out what was going on. So, I don't know. The last week has been really interesting. And I use that word again. Also, a while back, episodes back, I had talked about my best friend not being my best friend any longer. And that
I think that was episode 8.
was it 8?
I think
It
so.
was a while ago. And it's been a year now since that happened, which is wild because it feels like I was just on here talking about that and how hard. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. It still is difficult. Certain days it just surfaces back right back up like it just happened. Had a little bit of a cry yesterday about it. And I think, it probably has to do with the fact that it's been a year. It's just really weird. So I still cherish and love that friendship and miss it often. So I thought I would just speak to that since that's something that's recently come up as far as emotions go. But I would say the biggest thing that happened that took days to recover from was the experience that you and I had that really surprised me as far as aphobia goes.
Well, and I wanted to say something real quick because there are outsiders who could look at the relationship and your friendship ending and be and say something negative about the relationship.
Yeah.
And say all the reasons why you shouldn't miss the relationship.
Yeah.
But you still have those feelings of, I would take that friendship back in a second.
I would.
And so that leads me to this idea, especially in the asexual community, where internalized aphobia is frowned upon so much when really it's part of just being human and having emotions. There's going to be times where maybe even an allosexual person wishes they were less sexual or had less feelings of wanting sex.
Because they find it gets like it's annoying.
Or like, and I'm not saying that asexual people don't have sex. What I'm saying is like the sexual attraction, or if your mind is consuming you a lot with sexual attraction and desire and all those things, you could be frustrated with that as well. But we understand the aspect of like internalized aphobia and hating yourself. But I think there is some amount of normalcy in feeling sad because something didn't happen the way that you thought it was going to happen.
I know. It's just so hard when the feelings surface. Right? Wait, hold on. Put a pin in that for a second.
Yeah.
Because going back to the friendship talk.
Yeah.
I think that it's really interesting to look at, that feels heartbreaking still. Like that feels gut-wrenching. And that wasn't a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was a platonic best friendship. And the hurt feels worse in some ways than like a romantic relationship ending.
Yeah.
Because there's so much emotional ties to that. I think that friendship can offer so many things. So I'm saying this because there is so much validity in the importance of how close your friends are to you and how much they really mean. It's not to be looked at lightly.
Yeah.
Your close friends. So
I think there is a lot of times where, when you tell your friends or you tell siblings or you say something like, oh, my partner did this, and you're separated from them, it's easy for people to be like, yeah, I've known that they were an asshole this whole time.
mm-hmm.
Or I know that, yeah, I never thought that you were a good fit for them or that your relationship was ever going to work.
Yeah.
And so there's always a lot of,
well, even with
friendships and stuff like that. So, but obviously then if you worked it out with your partner, then they're going to be like, oh, you guys make such a good couple.
And now everyone thinks that they're an
but
asshole.
now you know that everyone thinks they're an asshole. So I think that can happen where people want to support you and they want to tell you like,
they want to pull out any flaws that they can.
Well, they just want to find reasons to make you happy.
Well, and to make it make sense.
Yeah. So I think when it comes to aphobia, there's a level where it's unhealthy, where you are just saying, I wish that I wasn't like this. I would give anything to not be this way. I would rather not be alive than to
Oh gosh.
have these struggles. And I think that that is certainly unhealthy. What I don't think is unhealthy is you being in a moment of wanting to try something or understand your boundaries better, or where sex or self-pleasure or anything like that comes into play, and then just being a little disappointed that the reality didn't meet what your expectation was.
Or what
And
you think should be right, or what society says should be the case.
And we've talked about before, and this is kind of a common thing, like in relationships, is expectations oftentimes lead to disappointment, because expectations tend to be a one-sided thing when there's multiple partners involved. And so if you have a set expectation of something happening and it doesn't happen, then you're not typically going to be like, yeah, that's great. You're going to have some kind of, oh, well, I was hoping that this was going to happen and it didn't. And that kind of bums me out. And
Right.
so then that can create two types of things. One, the asexual partner feels that the allosexual partner is disappointed and that they'll never be good enough. And then also the asexual partner having the internalized aphobia of, I wish I could do this. I wish I didn't have this happen. I hate that this happened. And then it might even prevent you from wanting to try things in the future, because you're like, why bother?
No, I just think it's such an unpleasant experience to spiral.
Yeah.
And it's even worse when you don't see it coming, when you're like, I've got this. Like, I'm in such a good place. I totally have this. It's going to be great. It's going to be fine. If anything, it'll be neutral at least.
And it might have been fine the last time it happened, but it's not fine this time.
Well, I don't even think it was fine the last time.
I'm not saying.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying in general, a person or a partnership or whatever could do something and it was fine one time, but then the next time it's not.
But then things change. You discover more about yourself, or you're in a different place, or whatever. Yeah, there's so many things.
Well, and I do think there is a level of, we talk in episode 1 and 2 about this persona leaving. And sometimes, when like you have people over and everyone, doesn't matter who they are, they always leave something at your house. It's like, oh, I forgot my cup or my jacket. I mean, your brother lost his coat here for like a year, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I've been looking everywhere for it. So I think sometimes like the persona leaves, but it like left something behind. And you don't realize that the thing left behind was still part of the persona, because you thought the persona had left. You're like, the persona's not here. And then you're like, oh, wait, I was still wearing, their shoes.
Yeah.
And now they came and picked up their shoes. And now I'm like, oh, I didn't realize there was still something left over.
Oh.
And it sucks.
That brings me back, man.
It sucks because, for instance, did you want to talk about what happened?
Yeah, I was gonna tell the story of what happened. Yes.
Okay. So to this point, we've talked about how I've taken sex off the table a long time ago, and then we explained what that meant. And it meant, I don't want Jessie to ever do anything because of sexual compliance. I only want her to offer or do anything because she is wanting to try it for herself, or she wants to figure something out, possibly because she's like, hey, we've never done this. I want to see what happens. And then she leads, the charge of whatever that is. I don't ever want her to be like, oh, it's been 7 months. I'm really worried. This has been so long, so I better just try to get into a good mental headspace to do something, because Skylar must be miserable. I don't ever want that to be a reason for anything ever happening.
Right. And I think you trust me at that point that that's not the case if something does get brought up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a long time, right? Since anything like that got brought up. Before we continue,
Yep.
I do want to make a sassy comment.
Oh.
Yeah. So we did get a couple of messages a little while ago.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I just want to make it so clear that Skylar is not forced to say anything in any way while we're recording. I'm not sitting here and we're not stopping the recording and being like, I'm not like, what are you saying that for? Are you kidding me? You can't say that. You need to say it this way.
We actually made a joke. We actually made a joke about this on TikTok, one of our first TikTok episodes, videos, where Jesse's holding cue cards.
Because we were getting accused
Yeah.
of Skylar not feeling like he can actually express how he feels. And that's simply not the case. I mean, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say this. He has some pretty honest opinions with things that he actually simmers down a little bit. There is no guidance or coercion or compliance of any kind happening here.
I think that I try to make this a healthy place for both sides.
And that's wonderful.
But when it comes down to the brass tacks, this is a podcast about really how the allosexual partner can support and get on board with their asexual partner's asexuality.
Right. This isn't a podcast about allosexuality.
When it comes down to it, when it comes down to any relationship, it's about consent. And consent is about boundaries. And boundaries are about respect. And if you don't respect the boundaries, there is no consent. And if there is no consent, then you know what that is. So,
yeah,
when it comes down to it, this is about how I, as an allosexual, can support my partner's boundaries. And if I'm not okay with my partner's boundaries, then I know where the door is.
Exactly. Yep.
So I will even say that this podcast was my idea.
Skylar's more opinionated than I am. Like, he thinks of things more than I do. And so it's just really interesting. When we get a comment or two from one person and they think, well, we want to hear more from Skylar. Can Skylar have his own podcast where he's not interrupted? Oh, excuse me. Wow. And I might be a little bit more sassy right now because I'm pregnant. Like, I'll be honest. But I think it's important to say these things. You guys get the real deal here. Really, honestly.
We're not making money from this. There's no reason for me to lie. I'm not writing like some bestseller book or something that's out there and I have to like promote it.
Right. And Skylar isn't being forced to say certain things when he's the one that thought to do the podcast and talk through these things. Like,
a lot.
That makes no sense.
I would say that 80%, if not more, of the things that we discuss or the topics that we discuss, I bring up to Jessie and say, we should probably talk about these things. And she'll be like, all right, well, write down some pointers and what you want to talk about.
Yeah, we can get through them, which is, we've experienced this whole thing through these 30 episodes. It's been great. Like, there's been so many things talked about. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
Skylar is speaking from his own mind. And I feel like we have a really great balance between the two of us. We are not constantly interrupting each other. We take turns talking. And I think it's pretty balanced, I'd say. But hey, listen, if you feel differently than that, come on, let's go. Message us. We'll step up to the plate.
I think that we do have some very close friends that we've met from this podcast, and they would probably be very honest with us if we asked them. So
yeah, and we did bring it up, and they were like, no, that's not, no. But anyway, all right, so I guess, yeah, it had been like maybe 8 months, right?
It was the beginning of October.
So
all of October, November, December, January, February, March, April, and then May.
So around 8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it had been around 8 months that we had had any sexual intimacy at all. And I don't even remember, was the last encounter, was that a pleasant one? Or was it kind of neutral, or was it sex? I literally don't even remember.
I think it was when we talked about this, I think, on the podcast where a certain position was done.
Oh,
and
yes.
and it happened like 3 times within a week.
Yeah.
And you kind of had, and again, this goes back to that aphobia where Jesse was like, oh my gosh, we don't have a sexless marriage.
This is amazing. Skylar doesn't have to be put through, in quotations, a sexless marriage.
And then after that early October
stint,
it was crickets.
Yeah, because guess what?
And then she just was like, nope, actually it is a sexless marriage. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to speak for Jessie, but I can speak to this because she has said it herself. It goes back again to that internalized aphobia. She really did not want to have to say that she was in a sexless marriage. If she could even say that we've done it once every couple months or something, then she would feel good about that fact that it's not a sexless marriage.
Even once a year.
But I want to say probably once a year where there's no substances used in order to facilitate that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because that's not under normal situation or whatever. But the thing is that.
But I want to clarify that. Hold on. Let me clarify that last statement. When I say a substance is used, I'm not saying in a way where Jessie doesn't have full understanding and consent and knowledge of what's happening.
Yeah.
I want to make that very clear.
I definitely have full knowledge, 100% consent. I think we get the biggest reaction when people ask about it, and I mean in person, when we say we have a sexless marriage. I mean, Skylar and I joke about it quite often. Don't you think?
Yeah,
we do.
But I want to make that clear too, that because sometimes people joke about stuff in a sense of like a backhanded joke is really just a jab, or like passive aggressiveness.
It's not like that,
and it's not.
No, actually, it is a bit funny because we get the biggest reaction when people find out that we have a sexless marriage. And that's probably why 8 months ago I was like, oh, we don't have a sexless marriage. Like that big reaction that feels negative by people. And this is probably why we've started joking about it a bit more, because it feels better to me to let people know that it's not that deep. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
We're great. But because of that huge reaction that we get when the sexless thing comes up, that's why I fought it 8 months ago and was like, oh, great, we don't have to have a sexless marriage, whatever. No, it's just
like never been more sexless.
And that's true. And guess what else, though? We've never been better.
Yeah, we are happy and healthy.
I'm not making Skylar say that, everybody.
Wait, I can't read that last thing.
It's
happy, healthy, and I love her I love her more every day.
Every minute.
Every minute.
Yeah, okay, good job. So, I don't know, I think people react very interestingly all the time to it, and so it's learning how to creatively work through that, I guess. So anyway, all that to say, it's been 8 months.
What if people say, well, Skylar's just joking through his pain?
Oh, they totally will say that. And they've said that. Skylar, are you joking through your pain?
Yes. No.
I told them to say that. No, the thing is that I can actually trust him completely. And if you can trust your partner completely, mentally, emotionally, physically, it's going to bring you closer. Shocking, I know. So there hasn't been any issues in that sense for 8 months. It's not even been a thing. It's nothing. It's
I do, as far as the allosexual side, I do feel that there are a lot of people who, well, we talk about this generally speaking, people can benefit from therapy 100%. But I do think that there is some deeper stuff that people need to work on, because people ask me all the time. We've gotten, I think, message after message after message of people being like, how did you do it? How did you
how are you doing it?
how are you doing?
that?
How are you flipping that switch? How are you not being frustrated? How are you cuddling practically naked next to your partner and touching their body and not just absolutely being frustrated? Because I get so frustrated when my body reacts and I know that nothing's going to happen. I can't do that. How do you do that? And I think that there is probably stuff that people need to work on through therapy or meditation or other aspects of stuff, yoga, I don't know, but it really comes down to just me having this really deep, clear understanding that just because I'm in a relationship does not give me access to someone else's body, and there is no expectation. She is not required to provide me with a level of anything. And if I'm choosing to be in this relationship, then I'm choosing what she is willing and wanting to do. And that's as simple as that. And
The only person you have complete access to is yourself.
yeah, just not in public. Let's make that clear.
Yeah.
But I think that also you really have to, as the allosexual partner, you really have to take away your self-worth away from someone's desire to bang you. Because that, I think, is the number one thing that I see on the different partners of asexuals forums and stuff like that, is my self-worth is so low and I just feel like shit and I hate myself because my partner doesn't desire me. And if you can't love yourself fully for who you are and you can't recognize how great you are and your self-worth is not tied to that, then there really is some work that needs to be done to figure out why you have that. It could be the way that you were raised. It could be
society.
Yeah, society
Everyone's
tells you
feeding
that.
this. That's the thing. Everyone's feeding you thinking that way. Everybody.
And I think that if you do look at yourself and you say, well, ever since this X, Y, or Z has happened, I've let myself go, if you will, you should want to have the best healthy version of yourself for yourself. Not because you're trying to impress or have someone sexually desire you. You should just want to look good or smell good to smell good or be,
feel good to feel good.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I just want to say, like, yeah, there may be some things that I have an easier time accepting, maybe, but if I can do it, I mean, I've done a complete 180.
Yeah.
Like, this wasn't just a small little pivot. This is an about face. This is a complete 180 from how I thought about myself and what my expectations were for my partner, and being like, well, if your partner doesn't sexualize or want to have sex with you, then, you know, you should have an open relationship, because why should you have to suffer, quote unquote, suffer because someone doesn't want to have sex? I've completely taken that out of my brain.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people still just think that you're faking it.
You know, it seems like an interesting thing to do, to choose to pay a lot of money to have a baby with someone who I don't have kids with already.
Yeah.
If I want to fake it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty wild.
Yeah.
Really trying to stick to that story, aren't you?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so yeah, it's been 8 months. And I just remembered that same person that said I'm forcing you to say things pretty much, they also didn't like the fact that I had said that um, the thought of if Skylar was sleeping with a ton of people and we had an open relationship, that I'd be grossed out by that. I need to make it so clear.
Well, I think they were saying that it's, I don't know if they use the word triggering, but the fact of like someone sexually desiring someone as being gross.
Yeah, I need to make it so clear that when I said that a couple episodes ago, it's literally biological to me. Like I think it's gross biologically. It's not that I think that you're a slut. Okay? It's not that. I literally and this is where the repulsion comes in. I mean, on a biological level, thinking about skin cells and fluid, I'm sorry, it grosses me out. That's just point blank what it is. And in my brain, if Skylar was to be enjoying himself with many other people, my brain biologically thinks of what's going on. And that's honestly, I think, where the grossed out repulsion, it's not that I think you're bad or something.
Yeah.
You go do you, have your sexual desires and things as long as everyone's consenting. But
also,
for me personally, biologically, I just think it's icky.
But also, there are allosexual people who think fluids and all that is gross as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we know people who are completely allosexual and really enjoy it, but they really hate wet kisses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they think that is gross, and it's a gross thing for them, and it turns them off.
Right, for them.
For them.
And for me, this is how it is. I'm not telling anyone that they shouldn't be doing that. I think if everyone's consenting and being safe, then I do your thing. Like, cool. It's just not for me, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, back to business here.
Let's get down to business.
I knew that was coming. You guys haven't heard Skylar break down in a little one-liner from a song in a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
I feel like this is a really good thing to talk about because one of the big things that asexuals hear is, well, maybe you need to get your hormones checked. Maybe that's why. But guess what? I'm here to say, like, cool, bro. Like, maybe you have something hormonal going on, but that still is not going to change the lack of sexual attraction. So, okay, cool. Your libido goes up. You go and get your hormones checked and they do something and they give you something to take, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you have more of a sex drive. Yeah, it's still not directed anywhere. And
it's like being hungry, but not specifically for pizza. You're just hungry, but you actually don't have any desire to actually want to eat anything.
Yeah, it's honestly just annoying. So I'm saying this because obviously I am 21 weeks pregnant.
If you've never gone through IVF, the amount of your hormone levels that they check is crazy.
Yeah, they're checking on all sorts of stuff.
Because they're doing science. And so they want things to be at a specific level because they know at these levels the pregnancy is most likely to stick. And so even if your thyroid levels are even a smidgen low, they're like, okay, we're going to take this.
It's true.
And
they could even be in the normal range, but they want it to be in this range of the normal range.
And you have to take all these estrogen creams or shots and stuff.
It was progesterone.
Because we have to have this level be this level. So they draw blood. It was sometimes
every other day.
Yeah.
There was a few times it was every day. So what we're getting at here is, for me, I've gone to the doctors before. Nothing's ever been wrong there. But going through this process of IVF and then being pregnant, things were being checked constantly and monitored. And everything was fine.
Yep.
But then with that being, and nothing changed as far as my libido goes or anything like that. But in pregnancy, your libido can change. You could get pretty horny, actually. And so for the last couple of months, just to be blunt, like we are on this podcast, my libido has changed and it's been incredibly annoying because there is no direction for it. So I noticed that happening a couple months ago, and slowly I started having thoughts of maybe,
Look, can I pause you real quick?
yeah.
I think people will say, well, then just point your direction at Skylar. But that doesn't take away. So going back to, you have the desire or libido to have sex, right? This idea of being horny, but then you also have the favorable indifference, averse, or repulsivity of the act of actually doing sex or sexual things.
Yeah.
So even if she wanted to, quote unquote, choose to point that at me, it doesn't change the averseness or repulsivity that she has to the actual act of doing sexual things.
Well, and when I
with-
say there's no direction, it's like, it's not like I'm lost. It's like I don't need a map.
Yeah.
No, I'm great where I'm at.
I just mean that you're not like horny being like, oh, I'm horny for Skylar.
Right. And also, it's not even like a horniness for sex. It's a horniness for,
Whatever.
I guess, an orgasm? I don't know. So it's hard to explain. So anyway, I've noticed this, and slowly there's been thoughts over the last couple of months of like, maybe I could try to have Skylar participate in some way. I don't know, but it's been scary because, well, every time things have happened, it's not been good. It's really my repulsiveness, averseness, uncomfortable feelings surface very strongly. And so I've been tiptoeing in my brain around it. And last week I decided, I mustered up the whatever. I don't want to say bravery or courage because that doesn't feel right.
You mustered up the idea of participating with me.
Of speaking it out. Yes. I thought, and this should have been my first warning sign, honestly. Because if I'm having to sit there and think about it over and over and over and over and over again, that should be the first sign of like, not a good idea.
And that's what you would do previously. Do I want to have
Yes.
sex every day? Do I want to have
all
sex?
the time.
No. Do I want to have sex?
Literally all the
No.
time.
Do I want to have sex?
Do I want to have sex now? No. And it's just been a long time since I went through that. And so I don't think I recognized the red flags with it. So it was morning time and we were laying here and I spit it out. That was an interesting choice of words. Whatever. Skylar, the look that Skylar just gave me. I decided to vocalize, hey, maybe we can do this in a light way. So the next part of this, I'm going to just be really blunt, I think, and speak in detail because I do think it's important for people to recognize maybe their own experiences in this experience. And if I'm too vague, and I don't know if it can be as relatable. Skylar's like, geez, how many details are you going to give her?
There I was.
The way he's looking at me, I wish everyone could see it. Anyway, so the thought was to have a mutual self-pleasure situation where he would be next to me and he would be helping himself and I would be helping myself. But there would be some light participation. So in my head, I thought, okay, I've gone through exactly, I think, what I'm okay with and what I'm not okay with. So I told Skylar, I said, I would like to try this. And he said, okay. And then I was very specific. I said, I'm going to put my hand here and here on you. And you can put your hands here and here and here on me.
Well, I think
But don't do this.
I asked questions too.
Yeah, you asked questions and there was like a lot of clarification. And it was very clear,
Yep.
I feel. And we communicated through the situation, the experience. And honestly, we should get gold stars. Like, we did what we were supposed to do. We followed the steps, okay, of consent and checking in and really listening. And it was fine. The whole thing was maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes?
Probably.
Yeah, it wasn't that long, and it was fine. Things didn't feel uncomfortable. I had my eyes closed like 99.9%. And I thought, okay, like this is I'm great. I'm good. Good to go here. And then at the very end, when things were finished, like the moment things were finished, I just started sobbing. I just lost it. And it came out of nowhere. It hit me like a ton of bricks. It was awful. I felt so much anxiety and disappointment in myself. It felt like I betrayed myself. Like, why did you do this? You don't you don't you don't want to do this. Why did you do this? I don't know. It really hit hard.
Yeah, and I I tried to ask Jessie if she could describe, because again, when it comes to favorable, indifferent, averse, repulse, obviously someone who's favorable, they're like, yeah, I really enjoy sex. I just don't really, it's not pointed at anyone particularly, but
But I like the
I
physical
love the
aspect.
physical aspect. It doesn't gross me out. It doesn't like give me anxiety. It's just like, yeah, great. But and indifference is like, yeah, I mean, I'll do it for my partner. I don't really care if I do it, but I'm also not grossed out or repulsed or averse to it. So
Just a
it's
neutral.
fine if occasionally, I do this. So I asked her, I'm like, well, how can you describe what it feels like to be averse to it or repulsed by it in a sense where everything's going good, or at least you think it's going good, and then it turns at the end, or you have like that breakdown happen.
Right.
Like, if you have to describe what that feeling is, what does that feel like?
Well, I think what surprised me is that during the whole thing, I wasn't feeling uncomfortable, but I don't know if that's because I was in my mind so much, right? I wasn't thinking about what actually was going on. I was very much so in my mind, and it
Yeah.
was personal to me. And then when things finished, it's like reality hit me like a ton of bricks. Like,
Oh,
oh,
I just did this
it's
with
not
someone.
just me.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm engaging with Skylar right here. And it just was like this burst of uncomfortable, unnatural feeling. And I was honestly sobbing. Like I was having to take some deep breaths. And then what sucks is after you have this thing happen where you feel like you betrayed yourself pretty much, then you spiral more. And you're like, why do I have to be like this? I don't want to be like this. I love this person more than anybody else. They mean everything to me, and I'm attracted to them in every way that I'm capable of. I should, in quotations, feel comfortable doing this with them. Why can't I just feel comfortable? Why? This makes no sense. And then you feel bad for thinking all of those things because you're like, wow, how aphobic of me. The self-hate is real thick today. It just, and the feelings of not enough, it all just really musters up this tornado of a spiral. And I was not well. Like,
For days.
I was crying left and right. And we could say like the pregnancy probably makes me cry more. I don't know. But historically over the last 2 years, that is what happens. It takes days. And it wasn't any different this time, even though I've been in such a good place with all of it. It was no different. It was like I was back at square one all over again. And I guess in a way it was kind of humbling. I don't know. You get used to being solid and you're like, I know me. I know exactly what I like and what I don't like. And I'm great. And then this happens and you're like, wow. I I don't I don't think that there will ever be a time where you can actually just be so solid. Like you're human. And these experiences are going to happen and they're going to surface. So it's probably better to just, I didn't think I'd react that way. And it killed me more when I did. I felt weak. I was like, I don't know myself at all, obviously.
Well, and it probably makes you even more closed off to potentially even wanting to try anything in the future. Because you might have the thought of, oh, I might be okay with this. And then you just go, actually, why even bother trying? Because all these other times it just goes bad, and I don't want to feel sad, and I don't want to have this tornado happen. I don't want to spiral. So I'm just going to just not do it.
Yeah. And how do you feel about that? What do you think is the right way to go about that? Do you think it's good? Like, even though I know there's a high chance it'll be not great.
I think it is better to fully understand your boundaries. And this doesn't mean you have to try everything in the book. It's like, oh, well, I've never tried a butt plug, so I have to try it. No, it doesn't mean that. It means that if something naturally comes up and you're having this inclination to try it, I still think that the human experience is to try and fail rather than to never try.
Well, and we know how I operate. I would, if I hadn't have pushed it, then I probably would still be reeling in my head right now.
She would have felt bad either way.
Right. However, do you think that it's still good to move forward when those red flags are beeping and
no, I don't.
Up?
Again, I don't think you should ever have to talk yourself into anything. I think that it should come from I want to do this because I want to do this, not should I do this, should I do this, should I do this,
right.
should I do this.
So in your opinion, when that happened last week, it really shouldn't have happened because
yes, but
the signs were there not to do it.
Yeah, and I don't think you shared that with me until just now.
That I had thought about it. And I felt like I did. Maybe that was because I shared it in therapy.
Yeah.
Which my therapist, she had said, Jesse, with how you are, you still would have been thinking about it right now if you hadn't have done it, because that's just how you operate. So maybe, maybe I still would have been thinking about it right now and being like, should I try this? Should I try this? Should I try this? But maybe instead of the only way to get through it is to try it, the better thing would have been to say, Skylar, I am thinking this over and over and over again, and I don't know what to do with it. Because I bet you if I would have spoke that out loud to you, you would have been like, I think that's actually a sign that you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And I don't think your brain, if you're having to be obsessive with those thoughts,
Well, because we've said this on the podcast before. If Jesse brings something up to me, I'm never going to say, are you sure you want to do that? Because I'm not here to question, as long as
my capability.
As long as she is following my boundaries, which is that I don't ever want you to do anything because of compliance or because you feel bad for me. So as long as you're not doing it for those reasons, then I'm never going to question your reason for wanting to do something.
Right.
Because I will know from the beginning, or at least should know from the beginning, that it's not you trying to talk yourself into it or trying to do it because you feel bad for me.
Right. But if I explain that I'm having these thoughts,
then I will say then we shouldn't do it.
Because that's a clear indicator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and I might question you. I might be like, well, why are you having these thoughts to want to try this? Why do you think you should try this?
And the answer to that would have been, well, because, and I told Skylar a few weeks ago, my libido has changed and it's really weirding me out and it's annoying. That's all I said though.
Because most of the time, and I think this will be the reason why you probably had this thought, most of the time, it's not a libido reason on why you self-pleasure.
Yeah.
It's just I know that this is a possible way of relieving stress, and I know that these...
Connecting with my own body, blah, blah. Yeah.
So when you have horniness be a part of it, I could see how that would be confusing or weird to you because it changes the quote unquote reason for doing something. Because most times,
Yeah, I'm not used to it.
yeah, the most times you do stuff, it's not because you're horny.
Yeah.
You just do it because it's mechanical.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have something that's like pushing you to do something, then it becomes confusing. And well, why am I feeling this want now?
Well, and then it was like, what can I do with this? Maybe
Yeah.
I can do something with this since this isn't my typical
Can I
thing.
utilize it as a
Yeah, maybe Skylar
gateway?
can benefit
Yeah.
from this and it won't be a big deal for me.
Yeah.
I'll feel neutral about it, which I for the most part felt neutral the whole 10 minutes that it was happening. It wasn't like I was like, when it was happening, it wasn't like I was like super into it. I felt neutral about it. And so that's why I was like, oh, I'll just feel neutral about all of it. No, that's not the experience that happened. So it was a huge eye opener. And I think that there's just so much to talk about here with the whole hormone comment.
Yeah.
This is a experience to talk about and show that just because you have a high libido doesn't mean that your aceness just goes away.
Yeah. Doesn't mean that the outcome of any particular thing is going to be different either.
Right. And with that being said, I mean, asexuality looks very, very, very different for everybody.
Yeah, and that's the main kind of reason, which obviously, I mean, we're almost an hour in, and it's not the major discussion, but this podcast episode is called Everybody is Different, and it's a play on words, if you will, for everybody is different, but everybody is different. We've talked to a lot of people over the 30 episodes, now 31 episodes, where someone's like, well, I wish that my body reacted this way, or I wish that I felt this certain thing, or I wish that I was demisexual and not black stripe ace. I wish that I was this type and not this type. I wish I was romantic and not aromantic.
I wish I could have an orgasm.
Yeah. And it really comes down to there is no black and white version of any sexuality or humanism. Every body is different. The way that your body reacts or responds to self-pleasure, to sex generally, to attraction, to desire is going to be different. So you shouldn't look at Reddit or even this podcast to answer every question about yourself.
No, it's a very personal experience that you're having. And I say this, it's not easy. It's way easier said than done. I think there's so much love that can be had for each and every single one of our own experiences that we're having, but it's also so easy to be comparing what others are having, right? And yeah, labels can help. We can all have like so many similarities within our experiences, but there is so much more underneath too.
And that's the reason why labels exist, because there's enough people with similar attributes that it leads to a group of people saying, I feel all these same things as you, or I feel 8 of these 10 things the same as you. Well, 80% of the people don't feel these things, so we must be different in this way. So we are demisexual.
Right. It goes so much further than the similarities that we have as an ace community, because you are your own unique experience. And I think that there's a lot to be said as well with the way that we experience pleasure. I think as a society, we really focus on pleasure being a sexual thing. There is so much pleasure in so many different things. I mean, obviously, the asexual community jokes about cake being better than sex. I think that is actually a great thing with
Cake?
Just getting your mind off of pleasure being connected to sex.
Yeah.
Right? Pleasure could be connected to so many things. What do you absolutely get so much euphoria from that you just get lost in, right? That's pleasure. You're having a pleasurable experience, and it doesn't have to be a sexual one. So, okay, if you don't enjoy sexual pleasure, then highlight the pleasure that you do enjoy. Get what you can. Focus on the pleasurable things that you actually do enjoy, instead of the things that you're not able to get pleasure out of, right?
And I think that commonly speaking, it's easier for men to have an orgasm than it is for a woman.
That's what the studies say.
And so I think
Statistically.
that it also comes down to accepting you for you. And whether you can have an easy orgasm, whether you can have 50 orgasms versus whether or not you can't have any, I think it's just learning to accept and be who you are and love yourself for who you are and not for who you aren't. Because when it comes down to it, you are who you are. There's nothing you can, it is what it is. And learn to find the value and find the love for who you are.
Right. Having an appreciation for your unique experience being on this rock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because isn't it crazy? There isn't anybody else that's like you, actually. That's, exactly like who you are. So celebrate your you-ness.
Yeah, so I think that's just what we wanted to share, is we wanted to share this experience and how that ties into this idea of there being one way to be ace and there's just not. And it gets hard because there's a lot of gatekeeping that happens in communities. Mm-hmm. And so even this idea of like, if you're demisexual, well, oh, okay, so you get to fall in love and have an emotional connection with someone and have all the sex you want.
Nope.
Cool story. Like that, nope, you don't sound like that. That doesn't sound ace. That just sounds like you're in a relationship, right? So I think just trying not to gatekeep and trying to make one type of asexuality better than the other, or one type of being human better than the other, and just being more loving and accepting and curious and kind of everybody.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a pleasure.
We did this in one take.
Oh, we didn't stop at all.
We
to
didn't
cough
stop
or anything.
at all. No, yeah.
Wow. Look at us go.
You didn't have to stop and chastise me and correct me for anything.
I didn't have to do that at all.
This is the first episode that
I didn't have to
happened.
Rewrite any of the cue cards.
Amazing.
We're on a roll, babe. We've made it on episode 31.
What did I do? We just want to thank everyone for listening, and we hope that everyone has a great day, night, morning, whenever you're listening to this.
Whatever you're experiencing right now, we're hoping
it's great.
That's great. Okay, how about that? And we look forward to recording the next episode.
It could be next week, could be next month, could be next year. We don't know.
Oh, geez, don't say next year. No, don't. It's not a next year. My gosh.
This was fun. I think that we'll. Actually, I think I said last time that we'll probably be more regular, and that was like, then we went longer.
Yeah, you shouldn't say that because we don't know, but it's not going to be next year.
Yeah.
Don't scare everybody.
It's Jesse's fault, no matter. So, so you can email or text or whatever her and tell her to stop being. I don't know.
You can't, and you know what? You don't want to stop it now because we just said that we did it in one take.
I'm not stopping it. People already tuned out. So,
okay, reach out to us. We love you. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.